So we called her Oma Lori because that means grandmother. That was my mom. My mom was born in Germany, and she lived through Nazi times. She went to a Jewish school for the deaf. Both my parents were deaf, so they went to a Jewish school, but they only stayed there for a few months because of Nazi times, the occupation. The family had to figure out how to leave the country because America were not accepting children with disabilities. So my mom was really young. She was a little girl. She was about 5 years old. So they were trying to figure out, my grandmother, my Oma Recha, she figured out how to get into France because a doctor there didn't know that Oma Lori was deaf. So they went to the health clinic there in France and they looked her over and they gave her a clean bill of health. And then they went back to Germany and they got their visa and they were planning to come to America. My mom, Oma Lori, she was kind of pulled around and she was rushed along, and it was about 3 to 6 weeks that all this happened. They went to the doctor, they got a visa, and then they left their country and they came to America. And she ended up going to Lexington School for the Deaf here in America. She was a very strong person. You know, all of that she went through, all those experiences. And she really always stood on her own 2 feet. She could be a stubborn woman. She showed a lot of leadership. She was involved with the Jewish Deaf Group organization in New York called the Hebrew Association for the Deaf Sisterhood. She was the secretary. She was very active. She ran a lot of events for them. She really enjoyed her life. She enjoyed her grandchildren until she passed away. She ended up passing away very young due to cancer. I always remember her as a leader, even though she was my mom. She really influenced me to be involved with organizations for the deaf, especially Jewish organizations, on the national and international level. She was a really good influence on me.
As we celebrate my mom, it's important to note that my mom was a girl from Brooklyn who literally had never really been to Long Island. So she would always tell us that the hardest thing for her to do was to fall asleep at night because she was used to trolley cars, garbage bales being kicked over, sirens, noise. And she came to Glen Cove and all she heard was crickets and a house creaking. And that's how it began. My mom was an incredible woman who had an enormous amount of energy and a zest for education. And in the 1940s, very few women took advantage of education, nor had the opportunity to. And my mom not only graduated high school extremely early, I think it was 15, she went into NYU and graduated NYU in 2.5 years, and subsequently went to Columbia to get her master's degree. Women didn't even get graduate degrees, let alone master's degrees.
She began teaching at Glen Cove High School, taught there for 26 years. That was in 1969 she began. Her legacy is phenomenal. She was dynamic. There are so many past students that I've run into that tell me the impact that my mom had on them and the direction she was able to give them and how caring she was and how firm she was. But I will say this, her legacy, besides to her students, really lives on through her 5 children, who gave her 12 grandchildren. These 12 grandchildren to date have produced 12 great-grandchildren. And my mother, fortunately, was able to meet and hold 3 of those great-grandchildren and spend a little bit of time with them.
My mother was a caring, loving, and fantastic mother who not only had 5 children, but had time and love for each of us. I will never forget that, and I hope that other people who have similar situations will look back on their mother in the same light that I look back on mine.
For me, she was vibrant, outgoing, dynamic, but taught me and my sisters and my brothers what it is to be independent, self-sufficient, and fair-minded. And because of that, we all love my mom deeply, and my dad, because the two of them were the dynamic duo. All you had to do was watch them look at each other and on a dance floor.